Hello, everybody. It's me, Anshika, and today we are going to check out the short summary explanation of chapter number 5 of class 10th English Supplementary Reader, which is Footprints Without Feet. This is a chapter which is written by Herbert George Well. It is actually taken from his novel, The Invisible Man. As per our book is named after this chapter is going to be so interesting, in which we are going to talk about the adventures of a scientist who got the ability to become invisible. We are going to check out, will he use his ability in a right way or misuse his powers. Griffin was a brilliant scientist. He carried out certain experiments, and to his intelligence and hard work, he prepared a formula to make a person transparent. But he could be physically felt and touched. He gulped certain rare drugs and became an invisible person. He had been fed up from his landlord, who disliked him and planning to throw him out of the house. In revenge, he set fire to the house. In order of without getting noticed or caught, he removed his clothes, became invisible, and got away from the crime scene. He began to wander about the streets of London without clothes, without money, and invisible. He happened to be in some mud. As a result, his footprints were left behind as he walked. Two boys were fascinated by the footprints without feet. They followed the footmarks, however, Griffin easily dodged them. It was midwinters. The air was bitterly cold, and he was without clothes. When the cold became unbearable, he slipped into a big London store. When the store was closed, he initially unpacked some garments and found warm clothes for himself. On wearing them, he became a visible person. He found cold meat and coffee in the kitchen. Then he took some sweets and wine. Being well dressed and well fed, at last he slept on a pile of quilts. However, to his bad he overslept, and when he woke up the next morning, the assistants had already arrived. He got nervous and began to run. The assistants chased him. Then he quickly took off his clothes, became invisible, and escaped from there. This time he stepped into a theatrical company, entered Drury Lane, and found a suitable store in order to not just getting some clothes but something to cover the empty space above his shoulders. A little later, following his new appearance, he appeared wearing bandages around his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, big bushy side whiskers, and a large hat. Being a visible person, in order to escape, he attacked the shopkeeper consciously from behind and robbed him of all that he could find. Soon he realized that London was quite a busy place to live like this. So he took a train to his new destination, the village of Epping, and booked 2 rooms at a local inn. His uncommon appearance attracted everybody's attention. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every possible effort to be friendly with him, but he told her frankly that he had come there to work in peace and did not want to be disturbed. Stating the reason for his strange appearance, he told that he recently met with an accident which has affected his face. She was satisfied. She thought he was an eccentric or odd scientist. Moreover, he had paid the rent in advance. When his stolen money was spent, he admitted that he had no ready cash. He said that he was expecting a check and then he would make the payment. Thus, he satisfied the landlord. Griffin took off his clothes and became invisible. He entered the clergyman's home with an intention to steal money from there. The clergyman and his wife woke up when they heard noises from the study room. The clergyman entered the room with a poker in his hand. To his surprise, the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife searched everywhere. There was no trace of the burglar. Yet, the desk had been opened and the money had been missing. Although the strange event was not so strange as compared to the one which is going to happen. That morning, the landlord and his wife got up early. They were surprised to find the scientist's door wide open because it was usually shut and locked, and he did not allow anybody to enter his room. In order to take the full advantage of the rare opportunity, they entered the room. They found the scientist missing. The clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying in the room. In the meantime, the invisible scientist entered the room. He attacked Mrs. Hall first with his cap lying on the bedpost, and then, by making the bedroom chair alive, he pushed both of the investigators out and locked the room from inside. She and her husband left the room in terror. Mrs. Hall was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits. She held the strange scientist responsible for all that. The neighbors felt that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But as they came to know about the burglary at the clergyman's home, they suspected the strange scientist. Their suspicion was strengthened when he suddenly produced some ready cash because only a day before he had admitted that he had no money. They secretly sent for the village constable. Without a presence of patience, Mrs. Hall entered the room and saw the scientist emerging from his empty room. She demanded explanation. The scientist became furious. He threw off his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and false nose. The space above his shoulders was now empty. The people in the bar were horrified to see a headless man. In the meantime, Mr. Jaffers, the constable, arrived there. He was surprised to find that he had to arrest a headless man. But, being a dutiful policeman, he tried to get hold of the man who was becoming invisible. The constable was struggling with someone whom he could not see at all. Some people who tried to catch him also received blows from the invisible scientist. The constable was knocked unconscious. Griffin had shaken himself free. In their nervousness, people tried to hold him, but they did not know from where to catch him. So, at the end, Griffin managed to run away from the crowded place, but moreoverly, these adventures are going to be permanent for him because he had chosen a wrong path to live his technical life, and with the fear of being arrested to the crimes he had attempted, he will wander from one place to another in order to run away. The moral of the story suggests that one should never misuse the power of science for his or her selfish needs. And that is all about the chapter. Thanks for watching.